Okay, so let's start this discussion on disaster management, which is again very important in the current situation with the pandemic and all other issues that the country is going through. Okay, um, to start with, can you name few major disasters that the country has faced?
Tsunami.
Tsunami was probably that was the kind of the largest natural disaster that the country has faced. Very correct. That was in 2004. Okay, what else?
Aranaya landslide.
Can you come again?
Aranaya landslide.
Okay, yeah, they were also disasters. They were also disasters. If you take the major disasters that the country has faced in the past and in the recent past,
Easter bombings.
louder, please.
Easter bombings.
Okay, that's also a disaster. Okay, yeah, it was a disaster, and also we can term that as a mass casualty incidents, also mass casualty incidents, or what we call MCI. Okay, yeah. Similarly, what about the war that has been there for 30 years? Could that be a disaster? It was not sudden. It has been there. It has been there for 30 years. But nevertheless, could that be a disaster, termed as a disaster? Yeah, I think it will be clearer. It will be clearer when we discuss the definition of the disaster later. Okay, yeah. And what about the current situation, the COVID? Could this be a disaster situation? Any ideas? Could COVID be a disaster situation? Yeah. Let's see. We will see what's the definition. It will become clearer to you. Okay. So we had discussed about tsunami and then the war. Okay. So again, tell me, what is the definition of a disaster? What is a disaster? You can guess. What is a disaster?
An incident which affects a large number of people, disrupting their daily lives.
Very good. Okay. Yeah. Correct. Can you add into that? Okay. Can you add into that? Is it only lives? Okay. Destruction, correct. So this is what Oxford says. Okay. It's a sudden or great misfortune or calamity. Okay. Sudden calamitous event bringing material damage, loss, and destruction. Okay. Yeah. All right. Are you happy with this definition, or can you add more? Can you add more? Anything that if you can add more? Can it be always sudden? Can it always be a sudden thing? Or can it be rapidly progressing, like the cyclones that we have seen recently? Or can it be even slowly progressing? Does it need to be sudden all the time? say COVID, the current situation, is it a sudden thing or is it a progressing thing?
Progressing.
Yeah, it is progress. So it's not necessarily sudden. Even though most disasters are sudden, there can be rapidly or slowly progressing disasters. Okay. Now, all this about loss of lives and damage, destruction, all this is correct. Okay. All this is correct. Now, if you take a car accident, okay, that happens in the road, it's sudden, lead to loss of destruction and material damage. But can it be termed as a disaster? And compare to that, say a train accident or a marine accident like what's happening at the moment, or maybe aircraft crash. Can they termed as disasters? A single car accident as opposed to a train crash. What would you be terming as a disaster?
The train crash.
Yeah, why?
Because a large number of people are affected.
Okay, the extent or the impact is so large, okay, and therefore, can they manage on their own? Can that community manage on their own? Even say the current COVID situation, probably not. Say the current COVID situation, can any country or any community manage on their own? Or do they need external support? Just take COVID. Can they manage on their own? Can Sri Lanka or even most powerful countries in the world, can they manage the situation on their own? Or do they need external support?
They need support.
Very correct. You need support. So that's the hallmark of a disaster. Yeah. Can one of you read this? Can one of you read this loud?
A disaster is an event, natural or man-made, sudden or rapidly progressive, with impact of such severity that the affected community has to respond by taking exceptional measures.
Very correct. Very correct. So this seemed to be covering the full scope of what defines a disaster. Okay. So, and there are other definitions. For example, look at this definition from American Red Cross. Okay. This is very much detailed, but practically this may not be that useful because it's too detailed. Again, can you note the key point? What's the key point? What is the key point in disasters?
Damage cannot be managed on their own.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, if you have watched news during last few weeks, you must have seen the state minister, honorable state minister for COVID management, had made a request. What was that request? she made a request. What was that request? To support the hospitals, no, and the health sector in COVID management, to provide support, provide financial and material support. Don't you think is indirectly a kind of a declaration of disaster status, isn't it? Even though it was not declared in that way, that format, it is actually an indirect declaration of a disaster status, that the state cannot manage the situation on its own, which is the reality. So this is what we need to realize, the definition of a disaster. Okay. Yeah. So what are the effects of a disaster? You have identified this correctly previously. Major trauma, okay, and then damage and destruction to property, loss of livelihood, disruption of lifestyle, okay, say refugee camps, people become refugees, okay, like due to war, due to floods, disruption of essential services, economic loss, okay, sociological and psychological adverse effect, okay. Yeah, so if you take the current COVID, out of those, what are the things that you can recognize? If you take current COVID, what are the things that you can recognize?
Everything except destruction to property.
Exactly, but that also, even though it's not property, I mean the systems are disrupted, no? No, not physical damage. There may not be physical damage, but there's a lot of disruption to the economy, to the systems, health system. All these are there. And major trauma and loss of life. Loss of life is definitely there actually. So almost all are there. Okay. So these are the effects of disaster. All right. Now, when a disaster happens, there is a rather traditional and rather ineffective way of managing disasters. Okay? That's rather traditional and ineffective way of managing disasters. What happens? What is the kind of timeline? Say, imagine a sudden disaster like, say, tsunami, or even this recent marine accident with a ship. What is the timeline? What's the sequence of events during a disaster? What happens? Initially, what kind of situation? Is everyone clear, or is everything very chaotic?
Chaotic.
Very chaotic. No, I like tsunami. Yeah, I'm not sure whether you could remember tsunami. You must have been little children by that time. But, everything was chaotic, no? So, and then later only slowly the picture emerges. And then people start rushing in, isn't it? Still it's there. I mean, when this marine disaster happens, still people are rushing in, and then whatever that is there, it always happens. And then maybe politicians, that's also happens, no? Now during these vaccination programs also, now politicians are rushing in, and then they are basically trying to make influences. So different people, different authorities trying to influence, manipulate, is basically a chaos. And meanwhile, people are trying to help. But is it in a very coordinated way? Does it happen in a very coordinated way? Now, imagine what happened during, say, Paralia, during tsunami, the train disaster. Again, I mean, it was not coordinated. No, people were rushing in, some people are supporting, some people are looting. So everything is a mess. I mean, even you see the vaccination programs that is going on at the moment, again, you may observe the same thing. I mean, quite unfortunate for a country which has a long history for vaccination. So probably we are still yet to learn a lot of things about disaster management. Okay? So this a scenario, no? Temporary shock. And initially now tsunami also, if you could remember, initially it was thinking that there are a few people affected due to sea coming into the land. But later as time went on, the picture became clearer and the gravity of the situation was apparent. Traffic jams can be there, communication jams, initially very difficult in obtaining full picture. Okay. Then uninvited people coming in, media, VIPs, curious people, okay, and trying to provide humanitarian aid as quickly as possible. It's a very positive Sri Lankan nature. But as time goes on, everything is forgotten. So this is a traditional approach, okay? Because Sri Lankans like action, but very quick action. There were some pictures. I think you might remember some of your seniors. Actually, they are not your seniors now. They are high-level doctors and health officials. During tsunami time, this was the response from the faculty, where we went to different places during the tsunami disaster. Okay, and again, you may see how the medical students have contributed during that time period. Okay, but this is an emergency response. This is an emergency response. The new concept or the current concept of disaster management goes way beyond providing just emergency relief only. Okay? Emergency relief is important, but it is only part of the modern concept of disaster management, which we call the disaster management cycle. Okay? It goes far beyond immediate post-disaster assistance. Here we talk about the disaster management cycle. It has several steps, including prevention, mitigation, preparedness, emergency response, recovery and rehabilitation. Okay? So it might vary from different model to model, but the general format remains. All right. So ideal concept, the modern concept of disaster management covers all these aspects, from prevention to post-disaster recovery and rehabilitation. All the aspects. Okay. And it involves several levels. Not one party, not one profession can manage a disaster. Now, can medical profession only manage this COVID? Medical profession may be the main discipline, but you need the support of all other disciplines at the governmental level and non-governmental level. At international level, now WHO is supporting a lot related to vaccination, okay, and several other international organizations. Okay. Again, government, in this case, mainly the Ministry of Health, has a major role. So it is involved in different levels and all the stages. This is what we call the disaster management cycle. This is what we call the disaster management cycle. Okay, now, what is meant by prevention? What is meant by prevention? What do you understand by this word, prevention? Prevention of disasters. Can someone explain?
Taking measures to stop the disaster from happening.
Exactly. Can you give some examples?
Like in a train crash, like if we maintain the trains properly on the railway, we can
Very
prevent.
good, very good, very good. I mean, if you have a good train system, like the good signal system, and the rail tracks are properly maintained, and people are so in that way, you are preventing. You are preventing. Okay, yeah. Say a war is about to start between two countries. Can it be prevented? Are there possibilities of preventing? At the moment, there is a war going on in Gaza Strip, okay, with a lot of people dying. Can these kind of things be prevented? Can a war be prevented? Can, no? I mean, if the leaders of the country, if the international organizations intervene, and if they can sort out through dialogue and discussion, then obviously these kind of disasters can be prevented. Okay? Yeah. And certain epidemics, say if you do the vaccination beforehand, can you prevent disasters? Can vaccination is an example of disaster prevention? You can prevent. If you can predict certain epidemics, you can prevent them, no? Okay, like even though things also things like floods, if you take measures, you can prevent them. Okay, then what is meant by mitigation? What do you understand by the word mitigation? Anyone?
Reducing the severity.
Exactly. Reducing the severity in case the disaster happens. Give an example. Can you give some examples of disaster mitigation?
Asking the people to leave the area where we anticipate a landslide.
Okay. Yes. Good. Yeah. Some other example that what you have mentioned actually may be linked to the, say, preparedness also. Okay. Say COVID vaccination. Now, vaccination, if given before the epidemic, is prevention. Can we take COVID vaccination as an example of mitigation of this global pandemic?
Yes.
Yes, no? Yeah, why? Why? Can you explain why this can be taken as a mitigation step for the global pandemic?
Because it can reduce mortality and morbidity.
Exactly. It can reduce the impact. No, it can reduce the impact. So that's a nice example for mitigation. Okay. Yeah. When you go down south in Parali area, again you can see the stone wall along the coastline. If you take the old Gold Road, can it be taken as a step for mitigation? Yeah, if again another incident comes, that will minimize the damage, no? So it's mitigation. Again, mitigation can be divided into structural mitigation and non-structural mitigation. we have discussed some structure. The example that is given at Paralia is a structural mitigation. Can you give some other examples regarding structural mitigations? Structural means you make certain changes in the infrastructure so that even if a disaster happens, we can withstand, the damage will be reduced. Can you give some other examples of structural mitigations?
In Japan, the houses are
Very
built
good,
with
very good. Japan is very much prone to earthquakes, isn't it? So houses are built in such a way that it is it can withstand the impact of earthquakes. All the houses has to be built in that way, so it can take up the impact of the earthquake and the vibration. Very good example of mitigation. Say, and even earthquakes, no? Even the earthquakes, mountain areas, there can be certain building regulations, no? Isn't it? And you might have heard incidences where those measures were not taken in the mountain areas due to landslides, or sometimes even without landslides, disasters have happened. Even last year, there were some incidences like that, casualty incidences. So mitigation is very important. These are the examples of structural mitigation. Uh, there can be non-structural mitigations, which are in terms of, say, rules, regulations, policies, like that. Can you give some examples?
I think after the tsunami, it was decided that within a certain distance of the shoreline, you cannot be building houses.
Very good, very good. Yeah, within 200 meters. But now that rule is broken without any consideration. But yes, correct. That is a non-structural policy mitigation, a rule, no? Okay. And there are many such rules, like say, we are in seat belts, we are in helmets, okay? And building regulations. Now in Sri Lanka, when you build, when there's a large construction, there is NBRA, National Buildings Regulatory Authority, and the approval is required. So those are non-structural mitigations. All right, very good. Now we have learned about prevention and mitigation. Prevention and mitigation. Okay, let's discuss about preparedness. We need to be prepared for disasters. We need to be prepared for disasters. What are the components of disaster preparedness? Again, as I have mentioned previously, this preparedness need to happen at all levels. Now, this global pandemic, that preparedness should have been international, national, and then institutional, okay, at different levels. What are the different components or stages of preparedness? Any ideas?
Preparing the human resources.
Very good. That's one of the major aspects. We are in the human resources. You need, so how can you do that? You can train them, you can give guidelines, you can do, say, rehearsals, drills. Very good, very good. Capacity building of human resources. That is one aspect of preparedness. What are the other aspects of preparedness?
Preparing of infrastructure.
Very good. Okay, that's partly mitigation also, preparing of infrastructure. In addition to that, what are the other things? Now, how can you prepare for anything? What's the first step?
Educating the community.
Very good. Educating the community. Because educating on what things? What are the things? What are the things that you need to educate the community? Say if a disaster happens, how to prepare. No, in COVID also there is a lot of community education, health education happening. Okay, yeah. So so what will be the future projections, so on and so forth. Okay, very important aspect is that you should be able to assess the risk, isn't it? Without identifying the risk, we can't prepare. No, I mean, to prepare, we should know what is coming, isn't it? So that is very important. Okay, so this happens at all levels. Very important in disaster preparedness that first you should be able to assess the vulnerability. Okay, how vulnerable and what's the risk? What's the possibility? What's the vulnerability? What's the risk? What's the risk of something happening? And what is the vulnerability of a particular population for that? Okay, so assessing risk and vulnerability is important. Then we need to plan for that and information systems. Now, even the current COVID situation, we need to find out what is happening, what's the current situation, what are the patient numbers, what is going to happen in the future, and warning systems, okay, and mechanisms to respond. And like you mentioned, public education and training. All these aspects are very important. So disaster preparedness is involved in all these areas. Okay. Now, when it comes to assessing vulnerability and risk, okay, a risk comes from a potential hazard. Okay. Can you give some examples of potential disaster hazards that will lead to risk? Can you give some examples? Give some examples of potential hazardous situations. Okay, landslides, okay, cyclones, like that. Give me a few more examples.
Floods.
Exactly. Some more. Earthquakes, okay, tsunami, industrial hazards, or even the marine biological hazards. Okay. epidemics, like what we are going through, the marine, like what we have seen recently, explosions or terrorism, okay, radiological, chemical accidents, okay, all these. All right. So all these are hazards. All these are hazards. Is a hazard always becomes a disaster? Can a hazard always mean a disaster?
No.
No. When does it becomes a disaster?
Only if it causes damage to lives and property.
Okay, yeah. Now even say this recent marine disaster. If it has happened in the deep sea, far away from Sri Lankan coastline, it would not have been a disaster for Sri Lanka, no? It's a very good example. It's a very good example. So it all depends on the risk and the vulnerability. It all depends on the risk and the vulnerability. Now, Sri Lankan, the coastal protection system is very vulnerable. So therefore, the impact is high. Okay? So it all depends on the risk and the vulnerability. Yeah. Similarly, all other areas, say, assume there was a volcano erupting in a faraway island, then it may not be a disaster. It all depends on the risk and the vulnerability. Okay? So keep this concept very clearly in your mind, that hazard is not necessarily a disaster. It depends on the risk and the vulnerability. So we need to identify the risk. So there are ways of risk assessment, vulnerability assessment, and predicting. Even in COVID, there must be real-time data system coming and way to predict the future number of patients and even a deaths. So the decisions can be quickly taken. So that is why preparedness is very important. Okay. Risk assessment. Identify high-risk areas and groups. Again, if you take, say, COVID vaccination, at the moment it is just being doled out. But ideally, WHO has given a roadmap. Who are the priority groups, high-risk groups, who are worst affected by COVID? In your understanding, who are the groups who are worst affected by COVID? Who are the groups who are possibly worst affected by COVID?
Old people
With
comorbidities.
exactly, all people with comorbidities and also the health professionals, like that, they are high risk groups and they should be given the priority, because at the moment the vaccine is in very short supply. Okay, so those are the people who should be protected due to many reasons. So this is very important. Risk assessment, vulnerability assessment is very important. Okay, training, rehearsals. Okay, now in COVID situation also, hospital should be given training. Hospital should be given training on, say, triage and how to identify patients and categorize them. Okay, early management. Yeah. So even if you take part in COVID management later, the training is very important. Without training, you can't provide the service effectively. Okay. Yeah. Then comes the emergency response. Okay. Then comes the emergency response. That is what happens during the mass casualty incidents, like providing the first aid and then the recovery and then evacuation, all these aspects. Evacuation, rapid deployment, there should be teams that are planned during the preparedness, rapid deployment teams who can go to those places suddenly. Okay. Now in this marine incident, we haven't seen any kind of rapid deployment team. It was only India ultimately who came to help. Okay? So in any disaster, there should be multidisciplinary rapid deployment teams who will be coming there at very short notice. Search and rescue. Okay? So all these are very important. Emergency medical care, okay? Health needs, all these aspects has to be assessed and then cared for. And then moving into next phase, because there may be a lot of people who need the basics, at least the basics. What are the basics? Food, okay, hygiene, sanitation, water. So all these basics are required. Shelter, okay. So the way you provide these things would vary from disaster to disaster, but the basics remain. So these are the responsibilities of the public health system. Okay, yeah. And then moving into recovery and rehabilitation. So when it comes to the COVID situation, we are far away from that. Tsunami also, it took a very long time. War, again, very long time. Rehabilitation, recovery is still happening. Okay? So COVID, we are not even anywhere near that. And it will include socio-economic rehabilitation, livelihood, rebuilding systems, infrastructure. It takes long time. It takes long time. Okay? Now, have a look at this paragraph. Okay? Relief phase or the initial phase comes quickly. There's a lot of social support. Okay? It comes quickly. But as time goes on, the immediate relief wanes off. Then comes the reconstruction. Again, a lot of community infrastructure development. Okay? And then later we can think of the economic recovery and development. At the early phase, we can't think much about the economic aspect because there are other priorities. That's why the current situation, where it's a crisis that the epidemic is spreading very fast in the country in an uncontrollable way, going for a 2 weeks lockdown was essential. Probably it may be even a little too late if you really think about the current situation. For example, countries who have faced this situation in an ideal way, they have been very proactive. For example, Australia, they have locked down one state just because they have detected only 26 patients, because they haven't basically relaxed their alertness. Because they knew that it can erupt at any moment, and they were always alert. But unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, our alert level was very high in 2020, and the results were evident. Now the alert level has really gone down, especially during the New Year period. And we can see a lot of, say, not so ideal examples of disaster management during this COVID. So let's hope that the common sense prevail and there will be the scientific approach in disaster management that will be considered. Better later than never. So because the only way is the scientific approach, scientific evidence-based approach in disaster management. Okay. Mass media also plays a role. So giving correct information, because we see a lot of incorrect information, wrong advices going around. That is as bad as the epidemic. This is what we call the infodemic. That's also very important. Mass media have a huge responsibility. As health professionals, we too have a huge responsibility in providing the correct information. Okay? So there are many aspects that we need to consider when it comes to disaster management. The take-home message that you should remember is it's holistic, it is multidisciplinary, and it spans the full range of the disaster management cycle, that is from prevention, mitigation, preparedness, emergency response, and then recovery, rehabilitation, reconstruction. We need to think of all these aspects and at all levels, national and international. Okay. So that's the summary. With that, we come to the end of the presentation.